sensation of déjà vu, a peculiar anomaly where reality momentarily warps, and you're inexplicably convinced you've been in this exact situation before. These fleeting occurrences often prompt a chuckle and are quickly dismissed. But what if they aren't simply glitches in the system? What if these are glimpses, fleeting insights into something profoundly deeper, a disquieting reality your mind has painstakingly concealed throughout your life? The reality you perceive may not be entirely real, at least not in the way you've been conditioned to believe. Your eyes don't perceive the world directly. They detect light. Your ears don't register reality. They interpret vibrations. Your brain doesn't passively record events. It actively filters, hypothesizes, modifies, and even fabricates. What you believe to be external occurrences are actually internal constructions within your mind. The crucial question arises: if reality is merely a projection, who or what is the projector? And if the life you believe to be genuine is, in fact, an illusion, then what or who truly are you? Let's explore this together. Your mind doesn't observe reality, it anticipates it. You don't experience the world as it is. You perceive your brain's prediction of the world, precisely timed to convince you of your present moment experience. This isn't mere speculation, it's established neuroscience. The human mind functions as a predictive mechanism. It doesn't passively await incoming data. It formulates hypotheses based on memory, ingrained habits, learned responses, and subsequently retroactively fills in any perceived gaps. At this very moment, as you process these words, your brain lags behind reality by milliseconds. However, this delay remains imperceptible because your mind seamlessly integrates the discrepancy into a cohesive experience. Like a skilled illusionist performing in low light, your mind reveals what it deems appropriate, conceals the rest, and labels it truth. Let me illustrate the fragility of this truth. A well-known experiment involved participants watching a video and counting basketball passes. Midway through, a person in a gorilla costume entered the scene, thumped their chest, and exited. A significant number of viewers failed to notice the gorilla. Why? Because they weren't actively searching for a gorilla. Their attention was solely focused on the instructed task. Their brains effectively disregarded information that contradicted their assigned objective. Therefore, the critical question becomes: what elements has your mind been systematically filtering throughout your life? Which individuals? Which truths? Which possibilities? How many metaphorical gorillas have passed unnoticed through your life? And if your brain can filter out a clearly visible gorilla, what other information might it be concealing? This includes the illusion you call self. One illusion surpasses even the power of reality itself. The illusion of you. We all harbor the implicit assumption of a solid, independent self residing within our bodies, making decisions, navigating life, and observing events unfold. However, pause for a moment and consider a question rarely posed. Precisely where is this you? Is it your body, your face, your name? Are your memories, thoughts, and feelings its defining characteristics? Had you been born in a different country, with a different name and religious upbringing, would you remain fundamentally the same? Would your reactions, affections, beliefs, and fears remain unchanged? Undoubtedly not. This implies that the self you fiercely defend was meticulously constructed, thought by thought, shaped by narratives you didn't choose. Yet, when someone disagrees with you, challenges you, or abandons you, you claim, "They hurt me." But what if there's no fixed me to be harmed? This isn't merely philosophical speculation. Neuroscience has dedicated decades to locating the seat of the self within the brain. And what has this extensive research revealed? Nothing. No central command center. No inner voice dictating actions. Only processes, thoughts, reactions, constantly firing, fading, and transforming. The self is a hallucination, an intricate fabrication your brain constructs to impose order on experience. But if the individual you believe yourself to be is simply a narrative, then who or what is the audience for this story? Who observes the unfolding narrative from behind the scenes? Psychological experiments repeatedly shatter our sense of certainty. We trust our experiences, our memories, and our perceived sense of control. But what if each of these has already betrayed us? Let's begin with memory. In one study, participants were presented with a list of related words: pillow, dream, snore, night. Later, they were questioned about the presence of the word sleep. Most insisted it was included, despite its absence. Why? Because the brain doesn't store facts verbatim. It retains patterns. It fills in the gaps. Your memory isn't a video recorder. It's a storyteller, and it often embellishes. Let's delve deeper. In split brain experiments, scientists surgically severed the connection between the left and right hemispheres of a patient's brain. When one hemisphere was shown an image, such as a snowy landscape, and the other was asked to describe it, the patient would provide a completely unrelated, yet confidently delivered explanation. They weren't deliberately lying. They were confabulating, creating a narrative that seemed plausible, even if it lacked factual accuracy. This is because your brain prioritizes coherence over uncertainty. This explains how individuals cling to outdated beliefs, defending ideas that never truly belong to them. Your mind doesn't seek truth. It safeguards consistency, even distorting perception to preserve its established narrative. So, if your memory can deceive, if your interpretations are shaped by preconceived narratives, and if your brain can invent explanations and convince you of their validity, what aspect of your reality can you truly trust? You don't react to reality itself. You react to your filtered perception of it. You believe you respond to life, surrounding events, other people's actions, unforeseen circumstances, and the world in general. But this isn't accurate. Your response is actually to your interpretation of these things, to your filters, conditioning, and unresolved personal narratives. For example, if someone fails to respond to your text message, you immediately feel hurt, rejected, or perhaps even angry. However, did their silence directly cause these emotions? No. It was the meaning you assigned to their silence. Perhaps they're preoccupied, perhaps they forgot, or perhaps they're grappling with personal challenges you're unaware of. But your mind doesn't inquire. It assumes, and it almost always defaults to fear rather than compassion. This is the emotional illusion. We often claim, "He angered me," "She ruined my day," or "That situation shattered me." But no one can directly inject emotions into you. Only your mind can accomplish this. It recalls a childhood trauma, a past betrayal, or a long-held belief, and declares, "Ah, yes, this feels familiar. Time to react." Consequently, you aren't truly living your life. You're repeatedly recycling it until you recognize the underlying patterns. This is where spiritual teachings intersect with psychology. Emotional liberation isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about recognizing the lens through which you're viewing the world. You can't control external events, but you can control their meaning. And once you grasp this, you not only alter your emotional response, you fundamentally transform who you are. You become someone who perceives with clarity instead of reacting to shadows, the observer behind the thoughts. Close your eyes for a moment. A thought emerges, perhaps a memory, perhaps a question, and then it fades. Another thought takes its place, then another. But observe something remarkable. The thoughts are in flux, yet something remains constant, observing them. You are not the thought. You are the awareness that the thought exists. This marks the beginning of liberation. Spiritual teachers throughout history have emphasized this silent witness, not the voice in your head, but the entity that listens to it. Not the feeling itself, but the entity that observes the feelings rise and fall. You are not the storm, you are the sky. The storm passes, but the sky remains. Even modern neuroscience is beginning to corroborate this. There isn't a singular you residing within the brain. No master switch, no pilot at the controls, only countless processes constantly shifting and changing. So, who observes it all? This presence, this stillness, has no name, no face, no story. It's indescribable, yet it's the only constant, present before you learned your name and remaining after every thought dissolves. When you rest in this awareness, not just conceptually, but experientially, everything begins to transform. You cease trying to control thoughts, clinging to identity, or mistaking the mind's noise for the truth of your being. You recognize that the mind is loud, but you are the quiet, the gateway. You've already stepped through. At this moment, something within you has begun to shift, not because I've presented anything novel, but because something ancient within you has been awakened. You've begun to perceive it, haven't you? The cracks in the illusion, the quiet awareness beneath the noise, the filters you mistook for truth, the thoughts you've worn as a second skin. Perhaps, for the first time, you're not merely reacting, you're observing. This is where transformation begins. The moment you cease clinging to the reality your mind has constructed, you begin to live from something far deeper. You become aware not only of the story, but also that it's just a story. And then, life transforms into something entirely different. You navigate your day not as a character, but as the presence observing the unfolding narrative, without the need to fix everything or be anyone specific. Simply awake. And in this awakening lies spaciousness. Space to choose, space to respond rather than react, space to discern what is real from what is imagined. Therefore, I urge you, don't merely contemplate what you've heard today. Observe your life. Watch how your mind fills in gaps, filters truth, and generates the very emotions you believed were external